Welcome to the Startup Leaders Show, where we speak with startup founders and executives. I'm your host, Lisa Dreher, and I am really excited to introduce our guest for today, Dennis Silin. He is the CEO and founder of Exodus Orbitals. Welcome to the show, Dennis.
Thanks, Lisa, and welcome everyone. Definitely
Yeah.
have a lot of stories to share since we first talked a few years ago.
I know. I can't believe it's been a few years. So I'm really excited to hear how things have changed and where you're headed with Exodus Orbitals. Maybe we can start by having you give a little bit of background on yourself and then talk a little bit about what Exodus Orbitals does.
Sounds good. So my story began in Ukraine, all the way when it was part of the Soviet Union, and then I grew up there for the first 20 years of my life, and decided to explore the world and seek more opportunities in Canada. I did graduate from university in Canada, worked a little bit as a software developer, and then for a while a lot more as a software developer. But my dream, always, my childhood dream was always to, go out into the universe and explore the stars. So after a while, you get older and you have to, reconsider your priorities. But I still remembered my dream, and one day I decided, well, it's now or never. So I didn't know where to start. And like many other, young people and also young people, maybe, the obvious step is just go back to school and study the subject I want to experience. And this is what happened. I did my master's in astronautics and space engineering at a great place in United Kingdom, like university there. This was absolutely a blast. I was feeling like Harry Potter in Hogwarts. Like everything you were dreaming turns out to be, as good as you hoped for. And then after that, in the final months, this is when the story of Exodus Orbitals began. Me and my fellow students, we started our company then in UK. At that time, we did not know what we wanted to do, but we started and with the hope of doing something. And after a while, that something became our current long-term vision: to allow people from all over the world develop and deploy their software applications to the satellites in space as easy as you can do it on an iPhone or an Android. You need an SDK and some idea, and that's it. Millions of people worldwide do it right now, and there's like zero technical obstacles in doing that today, as we learned in our journey. And maybe a little bit reminder, since our last time, after we started pushing this concept, we learned about the European Space Agency mission called OPSAT, which was exactly the same thing. They were launching a satellite, a CubeSat, that was open to third-party software applications, software payloads, as you call it. So a few emails later, and welcome on board. You're now part of the ESA mission. That was back in 2019. I think you probably know that part of our story. And it all went reasonably well. We waited until the satellite was launched. We tested our code. Well, things work. Well, the easy part is over. Now that's the hard part: how to create business out of it. And again, I had no idea how to do it at the beginning of our story, and had to learn everything by making my own mistakes. However, I persevered. Still there, learned a lot and made a lot of progress. And I can say that our vision is still the same, and the potential for commercial opportunities is still immensely vast. Imagine every software developer in every company, be it a startup of 2 people or companies like IBM or Bank of America or Apple, have another additional platform for software applications. It can be as big as mobile apps, as big as web apps, and potentially more, because solar system is a lot more than just Earth. Absolutely, there are ideas for software apps hosted in asteroid belt.
Yeah.
We're far away from this, but there's nothing sci-fi about it. It's not like a warp drive or even like a Mars colony. It's not that difficult to make it happen. The difficult part is make it create value.
Right. Right. Wow. Okay. So over the last couple of years, how many application payloads have you launched?
Well, we haven't launched anything. We still don't have our own satellite. I can
Okay.
tell you some numbers from the ESA mission.
Hmm.
About 100 different application payloads were launched in that. Variety of them, variety of areas. About maybe 10% have immediate commercial value, like you can put it on another satellite and get some money out of it. So this
Wow.
is gives you like an estimate. The current limitation is just one satellite that can do it, and we want to have expand that part. We need a platform in space for that market to grow.
Got it. Got it. So are you planning to launch your own satellites or leverage existing satellites that are in orbit?
So the plan right now is both. And again, it's budget is the constraint. If we can afford it, we would prefer to have our own custom satellites that are bigger, more powerful than their first mission. But right now we have to compromise. We have some options in partnering with other satellite vendors where they can run our own software shell with the
Yeah.
customer apps inside it. Even that is costs money. So fundraising is ongoing process. So we're thinking of things like the biggest challenge, I can tell you why we are not there yet, is literally pushing the industry in this direction, literally educating people that this is an opportunity, convincing that it's a good one to explore, and just making this thing known. It's a bit like an early stage of internet where
Right.
it's a great thing, a great new thing, but it's only like 5 people in the world know about it.
Well, hopefully more after today. So
Exactly. So yes, made some good progress on that side too.
great. So it sounds like you might be doing a little bit of a pivot. So what does that look like and what does that mean for the business going forward?
Yes, so right now we're trying to partner with existing satellite operators to present their own current capabilities, kind of wrap them as an app and make an app store out of that. So the satellites, they're already in space, they already can do a lot of things, and they can be, marketed as applications on the app store. The thing they do, like take images or process data and create what we envision based on the existing components without launching any extra satellites to begin with. Once that initial version is out and available, then we'll go back and create custom applications, create the way for people to have custom applications in space. Like the simple app, I give you an idea. It's select a place, select a time, and take an image, be it optical or radar or hyperspectral. That's an app already. So one thing that's actually is missing is make it accessible enough for the people outside government, military, agencies that already use it, and
Hmm.
make the process easy enough so you can press one button and one-click shopping equivalent of that on Amazon. That same thing can be done in space. That's the business part of it, and a
Wow.
lot of that is just not done yet. That's the only thing that's missing, and we want to do that and create that development platform.
Great, great, great. Okay, so we invited you here today to talk a little bit about just the lessons that you've learned along the way and some of the things that you may change or what have you if you were to start all over. And so I want to start by having you talk a little bit about what have been your biggest success factors so far.
Success factor, I would say just staying in the game and not quitting is one thing that's probably every entrepreneur knows. We went through the COVID pandemics, through the conflict in Ukraine, and all of that was, an impact. But we still are in the game. You have to, believe your own vision. That's everybody. That's a necessary equivalent, maybe not sufficient, but necessary component of
Hmm.
every big company that became big. The second thing, you have to kind of expand your network. Maybe the two biggest lessons I learned It's all about people. You have to find the right people to support your vision, both as direct vendors, partners, and sort of indirect to people outside the company that are on the same page with you, like friends and family, including. And without them, I wouldn't have lasted that long, literally. The people is the one major thing, one major factor that absolutely a must for for success to happen. The right people you are connected to it. And the other thing for me is a challenge, especially talking with venture investors. I'm always an outsider, like a cat in the bag. If you want to improve your odds, you have to know the person before you pitch your company to them. That's a reality, right? Nobody writes $1 million checks to the random people on the street. You have to build that relationship, and I definitely the years pushing for that, I built some relationships. That's absolutely a good thing. It doesn't happen quickly, and that's something I did not know, or I didn't understand the extent of it. It's going, like my experience from about ventures and entrepreneurship was primarily from the movies, right, and the literature. But even the documentary and the books written by other founders don't tell the full story. Like who gave Elon Musk his first check, or how did Jeff Bezos launch at Amazon? They all didn't materialize in back on day one. They all were inside their own network, including friends, family, and investors in the Silicon Valley. That's again, kind of give you like maybe like a bad example, but imagine you are the smartest person in Afghanistan and you want to launch your space startup. Who are you going to?
Yeah, I don't know. I would have no idea who to go to.
Exactly. You have to physically relocate to a better area. Even your neighboring country will be a better start. Even better if you can make it to Silicon Valley and start knocking on the doors there. The same story applies to me, not to the same extreme, but if you remember, I had to get out from Ukraine to Canada and had to go do some US trips. It's even Toronto is actually like cooler in terms of investors compared to Los Angeles or San Francisco. That's kind of outside environment you have to be aware of.
Right. Absolutely. Is there anything that you would do differently when you started out, knowing what you know now?
Yes. So the other big lesson, your company have to sell something, and if it takes 3-5 years to build it and requires large amount of external capital, it's extremely difficult to do that on your own, to do that without any extra cash from any other sources. So in terms of our original vision, our very first one was to build and launch the satellite ourselves. Again, but that costs money. But we don't have that much money in the bank. So we go to investors and seed ones, angel ones, and we have like some traction with ESA, but not enough to convince them to risk their own money. It's a bit of a chicken and egg problem. You need to have something to convince people to invest, but you need some people to invest to build that something.
Right.
So again, that's a problem that every entrepreneur faces. You have to be able to do something on your own that build your case strong enough to attract external capital, and that external capital can be your own personal connection, which I didn't have, or B, some metrics like sales, the best one, number of users, second best, and so on and on.
Sure.
And you have to demonstrate those metrics. You have to have those tangible things to show. And again, if it takes you 5 years to show the first value of this kind, it's just too difficult. Probably this has been done before, but you literally have to be 5 years doing nothing but your own company with zero sources of income, and it's still a big gamble if it ever works when you actually launch it. So the shortest possible path to market is one lesson learned. If we can, punch Silin in 1 year, that would be perfect. And I know we can do it right now, but that's I learned, after, trying for past 3 years. So that's something you have to learn either from experience or you have to know them from day one, which again, like some people do, some people don't.
Right. Yeah. A little bit of luck, a little bit of right place at the right time, and a little bit of, like you said, just plain old fashioned networking.
Absolutely, yes.
Great. Well, so I think one of the things that we often run into a lot when we're starting something new and getting a startup off the ground is that we will run into these roadblocks. What have you found are the most effective ways to just work through or around these roadblocks that you inevitably run into?
I think I know the answer. It might be kind of hard to describe, but if you keep working on the same narrow direction and get like a tunnel vision, then you hit the roadblock, and then you like don't know what to do. So literally, you have to stop doing what you're doing and take a day off and walk around the area just to make your mind more clear. Like a few things happened how we are in the process of the company, purely on like technical things, how we're developing our solution, and literally I had to step away from doing everything and not, do something else for a day just to clear my mind and figure out how to work from that, through that roadblock. And another thing, I don't remember like the exact roadblocks I encountered, but I do remember I have done that, and that's one way.
Yeah.
Another thing, you have to get your feedback from other people. Like I'm sort of prone of doing my own thing and then showing the complete result. So that works quite well when you're a software developer and the problem, the main 100% defined in front of you. So you can be literally working on the solution for a year without telling everyone and present it to the world, and it can work on the first try. With the entrepreneurship or business models, it doesn't work like that. You have to constantly be soliciting feedback, which again I learned over the course of the years how to do it more frequently and better. Feedback from where you are, what's the roadblock, and what you think is a roadblock, which may be not the case. You need to outside feedback, and that's something like the smartest person in the world still needs, and I'm definitely not that one. You have to listen to other people's opinion, especially the ones that have some experience or domain knowledge in that area you're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. How have you gone about finding those people, and how do you decide who to listen to and maybe who not to listen to?
Yep. Well, I mean, how exactly how other people do it. Primary on the early stages, like we were doing the first time, it was LinkedIn, and that's what I found a lot of useful connections, and including our first outside investors, exclusively through LinkedIn. Don't take it as endorsement. It's just that really happened.
Yeah.
And it's useful too. And the other thing, you go to the events where those people are, like the industry conferences, and approach them and talk to them, and then how you meet, and how to meet the right people. Now, which people not to meet, or which people were not worth the time, that you cannot learn it from the first introduction. That you learn over the course of working with that people. So I can tell you with confidence, every single first impression gives only the first impression, doesn't tell the full story of the person. You can have the best impression and be as good as you impress. You can be absolutely amazing, charismatic person, and also the one I wouldn't trust like a single dollar. Or you can be like the oddest ball in the world, and absolutely 100% reliable business partner, to the point like I can trust. I will trust my future kids to stay overnight in your house, like that good of a person.
Right.
Again, first impression tells almost nothing about person.
Right, absolutely. Okay, well, I want to end with one more question, and that is if you were to make one prediction about the future, what would it be?
No, I'll make two. So the first one is future will be completely unpredictable, but that's kind of too obvious, right? I think definitely by the end of this decade, we'll see people landing on Moon, and probably beyond that. And also, by the end of this decade, I think Exodus Orbitals will be a household name in the world, among the at least space industry experts.
Great. Okay, I can't wait for that to come to pass. So, Dennis, I want to thank you so much for being here today and giving us some background on Exodus Orbitals. If people want to learn more about Exodus Orbitals, what should they do?
We have social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, even a Discord server. I will definitely post links that I will be sharing this event online.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here today, and we look forward to talking with you again in the future.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks a lot for your time with me.
Absolutely.